of tutorial services. Some of you sitting here right now perhaps shouldn't be speaking according to what doctors were saying. Some of you, like me, face your own mortality. Some of you are sitting here right now, your marriages are not supposed to be together. Some of you are sitting here right now, your ministries were not supposed to flourish. People had already written you off. The older preacher was saying, you'll never make it in ministry. You don't have the voice. You don't have the robust personality. You don't have the suave kind of way of relating individual. You don't have the mind. You don't have the intellect. And yet, what they said about what you couldn't do, for when God says yes, when God says yes, it doesn't make any difference what anybody else says. Never put a period where God has put a comma. I've decided in my mind that God will take what you have, your 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. He'll take what you have and give you more than what you had when you got finished ministry. God can take any old dry stick, and if you trust him, he'll open up your Red Seas. God will put you in a lion's den so that you won't go into a lion's den, but you'll be like William Augustus Jones, that Daniel was not in the lion's den. The lions were in Daniel's den. God is able. And you're sitting here this morning talking about what you can't do. I don't have the voice of an Adrian Rogers. I can't preach like Gardner Taylor. Stop using the dictum and modifying it. In Galatians 2:20, I'm crucified with Christ. Therefore I live, yet not I, but Christ preaches in me. I'm crucified with Christ. Therefore I preach, yet not I, but Adrian Rogers preaches in me. Yet not I, but Gardner Taylor preaches in me. Yet not I, but Danny Aiken preaches in me. You'd better say, yet not I, but Christ preaches in me. Give him your best and let him use you. Find your voice. God has not made you accidentally, coincidentally, or incidentally. He's made you providentially. He knew exactly what he was doing when he made you. And though people say what they say, God can take this and do something with it. A potter saw a vessel that had been broken by the winds and the rain, and he sought with much compassion to put it back together again. But I was that broken vessel that no one thought was any good. I cried, Lord, you are the potter. I am the clay. Make me over again today. That's when Jesus picked up the pieces of my broken heart that day and made me a new vessel and revived my soul again. So if you've been abused or accused, God can use you. If you've been battered or beleaguered or baffled, God can use you. If you've been fragmented or frustrated, God can use you. If you've been demoted or disappointed, God can use you. He knows your address. You've been in Lodibar a long time. He knows when it's time to make a divine intervention to get you where he wants you to be. In fact, if you really look at grace rightly, you have to sometimes just smack yourself and wonder how you could be where you are. You know you don't deserve it. You know it's not anything that you've done, and yet God, by his grace, has called you and I. How can we not respond in gracious obedience? Mephibosheth, your servants. Then he says, because of my relationship with your father Jonathan, the commitment, that's the implication that I've made, the covenant that we made together. Today you will be rich. The lands that your grandfather, the king, Saul, owned, and the lands that your father, the prince Jonathan, owned, will revert to you. In fact, I am going to give you 35 assistants. Ziba has 15 sons and 20 servants. They will plant the crop, harvest the crop, and take care of everything for you. And in verse number 7, you will always eat at my table. Verse number 10, you will always eat at my table. Verse number 13, you will always eat at my table. And verse number 11, you will always eat at my table, not as a guest, but as one of my sons. That's grace. How do you go from Lodibar in one day and have access to the sovereign of Israel, small s? Instant access, except by grace. If you can explain grace, it ain't grace. That's why John Newton say, amazing grace. Now, this man could have responded. Mephibosheth could have responded. He could have said, well, you know, it's about time that I got discovered. I've been down here in Lodibar. I am a prince. I'm a son of a prince. I'm a son of the former king. And I've been languishing, wasting away all this time. I was wondering when I was going to get called up. I was wondering when I was going to get my due. I was wondering when I was going to be discovered. I've been down here all this time. And some of you have been serving in what you may call a rather unappreciative role in a church that will never get recognition. In fact, you have to name the biggest city that's located to let people know where you are. It's about 100 miles away. Where are you, Pastor? Around Atlanta, 150 miles away. And the struggle is this. Here's the struggle. The struggle is this. Every Sunday, you are faithful in expositing the Word of God. You preach to 15 people every Sunday. I did a conference on preaching in a small church. And a man came to me and afterward talked to me and thanked me for what I had shared. He preaches every Sunday to 2 people, his wife and another member, and the other member is blind. And he preaches every single Sunday faithfully. I just have an idea that some of the people who will be heroes, real heroes, and real recognized people in heaven will not necessarily be people who preach to 50,000 people or 30,000 people down in Houston. Not necessarily that group, but that individual who is faithful every Sunday, takes care of his people all during the week, never compromises the truth, and is faithful over a few things. We want a promotion, but God says, if you're faithful over a few things, I will make you rule over many. If you're not able to be faithful over 15 people, you're not ready for 150, you're not ready for 1,500, and you sure ain't ready for 15,000. When am I going to get called up? When am I going to get discovered? I'm tired of being sick in Lodibar. When am I going to get healed? I'm tired of a marriage that's shaky, and my spouse cannot be complimentary and supportive of me. When am I going to be solidified by my spouse? I'm tired of preaching to people Sunday after Sunday, pouring my heart out, and half the deacon board is asleep. I have tricky trustees. I have devilish deacons and cantankerous choir members. When? Stay in Lodibar. God knows your address. He knows your zip code. He knows your email address. You stay faithful. It's not your business how long you stay there. It's God's business to keep you there until he gets ready to call you. But Mephibosheth didn't say that. He could have played the name game, the blame game. Had it not been for that nurse in 2 Samuel chapter 4, verse 4, who dropped me, I wouldn't be like this. And the truth of the matter is, had it not been for that nurse who lifted you up, you wouldn't be anywhere, Mephibosheth. You would have been dead. You know, I'd be a better preacher if I had a different wife, especially one that could sing. If I had a different pastor, if I went to a different seminary, I would do this and I would do that. Too many preachers are lost in the woods, the W-O-U-L-D-S. I would. What are you and I doing with what God is giving us right now? Let's stop blaming each other. I tell black people everywhere, stop blaming white folk. Now, white brothers and sisters, you didn't hear that. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to the black folk. Stop blaming white folk. You know, if they get out of my way, then I could really go somewhere. There used to be a time when our foreparents only had desire. They didn't have opportunity, particularly in seminary and places of higher education. Now we have opportunity, but we're losing our desire. They studied under candlelights. Can you imagine John Wesley? He's not black, but white. How did he write all those books as an itinerant preacher